Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by a nutcase. He has sent me this agenda for world peace. Work does not cost, the land does not. Work does cost, the land does not. Nature does not cost, her obtainment and transformation does. You can set a price for using your brain. These are some sort of principles or something. What is land's socialism about? Point 1. The land will not have an owner. Planet Earth is for humans, animals, plants to share. There will be an organizer. So not an owner, just an organizer. The global chamber for the organization of the space. So they don't own it. Remember that. They just organize it. Ruled by society itself. So kind of like the UN that everybody rules over. To each human, it corresponds, at his or her 18 years old of age, a space land for his, her home and crops cultivation. Corresponds. I guess that means it's given to you at your 18th birthday. But there's no owner. Right. All right. Society owns it then. So the individuals are gifted this by society. So the individuals don't really exist. What really exists is society. And the individuals just take what society gives them. We cannot sell, buy, rent, or inherit the land, only the structure, building, house. So we can sell, buy, or inherit the structure, but not the land itself. All right. Yeah. Who owns the land then? Who gets to say what happens to the land? We could inherit the location, but the person would have to give away his or her actual location or could pay rent to society. Now, I just want to point out right here that when you pay rent on your house, you are paying rent to society. Okay? Because the landlord takes that money and turns around and does whatever he does with it, pays his bills and goes on a vacation and puts the money in the bank so that there's more money in the bank for you to borrow if you want to take out a loan. So when you pay your rent, that goes straight from you to society. All right, so paying rent is paying rent to society, so we don't need to fix this system that we have right now. When you pay your rent, it gets immediately sent out to anywhere from 1 to dozens of people. Okay. The global chamber for the organization of space, right, for the extra location or even be able to exchange the spouse's location for the inherited location. Alright, so you and your spouse, there can be some shell games with what you're allowed to do with your erstwhile property. If someone would like to have more land for more homes, business, or anything, he, she will be able to have it as long as they pay rent to society. Well, if you understand what I meant by paying rent to society up here, the same thing would be true down here. When you get another building, it's because you're benefiting society in some way. When you get 10 buildings, think of all the benefit to society for 10 buildings. That's a lot of people, 10 or more, that can live in your buildings. If they're big buildings, maybe thousands. So this is garbage. If when you get married, the land of your spouse could be relocate to another city or country. Now, that's insane. The problem there would be everybody would want to relocate to the best place. Everybody would live in Southern California. So if you have a right to relocate, everything will look like either Southern California or Western Europe. It'll just be flooded. The good places will just be flooded. So that's insane. Having in consideration that space land is limited for now, only one planet, should we limit the quantity of population? So now we've passed it used to be how to achieve world peace. Now it's questions. Should we limit population if we do not want to be stuffed in apartment units in high-rise buildings? Well, I got some news for you there. The ancient Romans were stuffed in apartment buildings in high-rise units in their cities. And they actually made laws about the height that the buildings could go to and stuff. But they didn't have very good building materials, and stuff collapsed a little more frequently than they would like. And earthquakes are dangerous. So they limited the height of their buildings and the number of people, therefore, that could be in the buildings. So you're going to be stuffed in apartment units in high-rise buildings, no matter what your definition of high-rise buildings is, no matter how big or small your population is. And if your population is super, super, super small, then you will all be stuffed in super, super, super crowded little apartments in super tiny little things called villages. And you'll have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people plus the chickens and the ox all living in one single room. That's real poverty. So if you want wealth, then you need more people. And when you have a lot of people, then you have the productivity that it takes to go out and conquer huge swaths of nature and have very tall, very wonderful, very beautiful buildings. So you've got that exactly backwards. Limiting the population will not make us richer. All right, 7. We have to pay attention to the balance in space diversity. We need space for nature, space for water, space for food. Well, I'll tell you what, when you're poor, none of these things matter. There's too much space for nature. And there's too much water out there. Space for food, cultivate. When you're poor, your entire life is making food for cultivation and farms. Every waking minute of your life is spent on this when you're poor. So we have to pay attention to the balance. Yeah, if you end up in poverty, all these other things, homes, schools, recreation, transportation, industry, nature, all these things disappear if you get too poor. This is the only thing that you have. Okay? Now, you're not looking out for poverty up here. In fact, one of your questions up here is going to lead to more poverty if you limit population. You're not even looking out for poverty. You don't realize that all your utopian garbage is going to end up in poverty, and you're going to end up with no balance. No balance among these various things. You're going to have only space for food and cultivation and farms. That's all you'll have. Look at North Korea. Every inch of land in North Korea has something growing on it. Or a little bit of something. If it's state land, it's not much at all. Every inch of land in North Korea is cultivated. Nature above everything. Yeah, that's North Korea for you. That's definitely not Hong Kong or Switzerland, is it? What kind of horror show are you looking for? Oh yeah, socialism. Yep, there you go.